Now, in the most recent trailer of Tears of the Kingdom, we got to see a whole lot. So much, in fact, that it almost overloaded my brain completely. And so, as you can imagine, I am more than excited to cover all kinds of things that I saw in the trailer itself. And while I already did a pretty in-depth video on the potential story of the game, I also want to cover the enemies because I saw so many cool things. But that's not all. A lot of them also borrow from other Zelda games in the best ways possible. And I bet it will help with making the combat even more interesting in the sequel. So let's jump in and look at all the enemies seen in the trailer, as well as some of the older ones. But first, introducing my new store, Wily.gg, the place to buy your new games and get your hands on eShop cards for Nintendo as well as Xbox. And don't forget, use code Wily at checkout to save 10%. Now let's continue. Now let's start with what we see in the trailer that was released in 2021. Because here we do see some enemies aside from Ganondorf himself, of course. The first thing we see is this stone golem, which is clearly found in the sky and seems to be powered by Zonai-powered. Personally, I think this isn't truly an enemy. Sure, it will attack you, but it isn't some evil being that really wants to take you out. In the end, I think this is more of a test. Like the Guardian Scouts that are seen in the Test of Strength shrines in Breath of the Wild. Link did take quite a beating from Ganondorf, which we can see in the trailers, and so I think these will be there to test and train Link after his comeback. I mean, his arm had to be fixed and he has to defeat Ganondorf while his forces basically rule the world. So Link is in for a real challenge. And this isn't the only one seen in the trailers. In the new one, we also came across this being that I will call the Box Basher. It reminds me a bit of Eox, the ancient stone soldier from The Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass. In many ways, this boss seen in Tears of the Kingdom is similar, but this time it's powered by Zonai magic. And I think he also has a challenge specifically made for Link, or just great warriors in order to test their abilities. However, with this one, you can actually see what powers it. Just look at this cube filled with some sort of strange green substance. This same stuff is always associated with the Zonai, and I think in the game we have to climb on it and somehow deactivate or remove this block. Now, how you exactly do this is still a mystery. Hey, I don't have an answer for everything after all. Now let's move back to the 2021 trailer really quick, because here we saw updated moblins and bokoblins that have come up with new strategies. And personally, I'm so happy to see this. Just look at this one shot where bokoblins created a mini fortress on a stone talus. This is something they never did, but it is a concept Nintendo has done many times before, but not in the Zelda games. In the Super Mario franchise, they are a big fan of combining stage hazards as well as enemies to make something new out of it. And while this is done in the Zelda games, it is quite rare. But this shows us that they are experimenting with this in the Zelda games now, which is just amazing to see. It can add a new challenge to a mini-boss like this one, while fixing its weaknesses or making it harder to exploit them. This is a concept that was already seen in Breath of the Wild with some of the Hinoxes covering their eyes to block arrows. So it's cool to see that they're expanding on these concepts. It's clear that this stone talus fight will be different from others. Due to the bokoblins and spikes at the bottom of those platforms, you can't climb on top, and some of the stone giant's moves aren't possible, like the head slam. If it would do that, then the wooden structure on top and the bokoblins would be screwed. So maybe it has two stages. First, it throws its arms, and only when the bokoblins on top are taken out, it will fall back to its normal strategy. But who knows what he will do. Now, aside from this, it looks like these moblins and bokoblins have little things on their heads, like horns, blades, and weird helmets. First, I thought these grew naturally, and they might be used to craft weapons because they do look like blades and spearheads. But thanks to the new trailer, I think it is more likely that these represent ranks in Ganondorf's army, especially after I saw the Big Blin, which is a completely new enemy in the game that is basically a bigger version of a bokoblin, but his role seems quite interesting. At first, I thought he could power up enemies by blowing his horn, but as you can see with these normal bokoblins, they do a specific attack after he blows the horn. So personally, I think they will act as some sort of lieutenant lands that command bokoblins around them, potentially making them a bigger threat. But this isn't the only new ground enemy. It seems like the Redeads also made a return, which is incredibly exciting. However, this time they look quite different compared to the older versions, even ones seen in other cel-shaded Zelda games. Now, for the folks who don't know, cel shading is a specific art style that was first seen in the Wind Waker and after that many other Zelda games, including Breath of the Wild. Now, personally, I would say the Redeads kind of look like a combination of a ghoul from World of Warcraft and an ant. I mean, just look at that mouth and this close-up of an ant's face. You can see what I mean right away. Now, personally, I like the look. It's very weird, and who knows how it will attack in the game, and how you can even defeat it, because normally they are pretty tough, and sometimes they even require bombs. So I bet there will be an exciting challenge in Tears of the Kingdom as well. However, aside from these new or altered ground enemies, they also decided to add new flying ones, which was certainly needed as there were barely any in Breath of the Wild, and to be honest, at some point you got sick of those darn keys that keep annoying you. Now, as soon as the new trailer starts, you can see that another old flying enemy makes a return, and it's also one of my favorites, the Kargarok, a classic that is seen in games like the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, where they have a huge role. And they also have certain unique powers, and these are also returning in Tears of the Kingdom. In the Wind Waker, the Kargaroks were able to pick up enemies with their talons and drop them off in the middle of a battle, which was actually seen in the game when you finally reached the top of Dragon Roost Island, where two moblins drop down from the heavens due to Kargaroks. And in the trailer, you can see that they will do this in Tears of the Kingdom as well. For example, here, we can see them carrying bokoblins around, and they even carry crude stone axes, which are also new. So it's cool to see that this concept made a return. But this isn't all, because it also seems like we're getting a new mini-boss. Near the beginning in the trailer, you can see this gigantic three-headed fire dragon on the bridge, and it looks absolutely bonkers. Now, a lot of people, me included, think this is a boss known as Gleeok, who has been seen in other Zelda titles. For example, in the original game, Oracle of Seasons, Phantom Hourglass, and even the Minish Cap. Well, sort of. The last one is up for debate. However, still, it looks like we are in for an insane fight with a freaking dragon. However, we know very, very little about it. So far, we've only seen it from miles away. Heck, we don't even know what its face looks like. And while we could look at its strategies in older games, I don't think that will be too useful because all those games are in 3D and are also quite old. So we will have to be patient. But it is good to see that there will be new world bosses that are unlike any of the ones seen in Breath of the Wild. Now, this is everything I was able to spot, but let me know if I missed something down below, and share your thoughts on the game. But don't forget, check out the story video I made on Tears of the Kingdom. It's pretty good. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I am very excited. This game is looking rad. I love these dark aesthetics and this depressing stuff. I don't know why, but I like it. I liked it in Twilight Princess. I like it in movies like Lord of the Rings. I like it in stuff like the manga series Berserk. I like it in Majora's Mask. So it's very exciting to see a true dark timeline. Something that Age of Calamity kind of promised us, but we never got. So I'm super excited. But let me know down below what you want to see, what you think about the game, any suggestions, what I missed, how dumb I am, whatever. Tell me down below, and leave a like and subscribe, lovelies, because more stuff is coming, and it would help me a lot. That's also another reason. Yay!